I knew back in 1987 that this company could not be solely Minnesota Power and be successful. It had to be more than that. And that was already sort of personally and viscerally lived by me, and I said, I'm going to make sure if I ever have my chance on the stick, to make sure that this company is diversified for the future so we wouldn't have so much exposure.
In his decade as president and CEO of ALLETE, which ended with his retirement this year, Al Hodnik, now the executive chairman, positioned the Duluth-based energy company for the future. He made great strides in sustainability, diversification, talent development, gender diversity, and profitability.
$4 billion market cap, I'm very proud of that. This company is a much different company today than it was 10 years ago. It's a much stronger company, and it has so many potential growth opportunities going forward in the clean energy space right now, while it continues to serve some of its traditional customers here in northeastern Minnesota.
A child of the Iron Range, Al is a self-described Minnesota Power brat. Not only did he spend his entire 40-year career working for the utility, his father worked for Minnesota Power too. The company was a large and positive presence in their life in Aurora, Minnesota, where Al would eventually serve as mayor while building his career.
My mother would say, run this across the railroad tracks to your father, and I would get out of the car and jump across and bring the lunch bill to my dad, and he'd come and give me a hug on the tracks, and I'd look at him jumping on the locomotive and driving down the tracks to go get the cars and so on and so forth. Later in life, I was driven out there to go fishing. It's on a lake, obviously, and so keep an eye on him all day type of thing, and I'd cast my rod and catch sunfish, and he'd come down and check on me, how you doing, and so on and so forth. So those are my earliest memories, both of my mother bringing me out there and my dad working at that location.
Al worked summers at Minnesota Power to pay his way through college. The C-suite wasn't even on his radar, but he was always open to new challenges.
I was in the field. I was laid off. I was bounced around. I stayed with the company, and the company stayed with me. I did work that was not necessarily ideal, but I did it anyways, because all work is honorable. The company honored me by keeping me on, and they built a loyalty in me that never been lost.
On his way to the top, Al worked in operations and organizational development. He worked in the field and at headquarters in a variety of management roles prior to being named president in 2009 and CEO a year later.
As I have a fundamental belief, and I've always had a fundamental belief, that all value creation starts with people, leadership, and culture. So I start there. And I know business schools would disagree with me today. The customer comes first, the customer's value proposition comes first, those kinds of things, and then you assemble the team. I don't believe that. I believe you assemble the right people, the right culture, and the right leadership, and then you figure out from that point in time what business are we in and who are we serving at the end of the day.
During his tenure as president and CEO, ALLETE's largest subsidiary, Minnesota Power, reduced its carbon footprint by more than 30%. The company launched ALLETE Clean Energy and sold its majority stake in U.S. Water Services to focus on renewable energy investments, and through it all, Al never lost sight of his community. But
Minnesota Power still today is a big fish in a small pond up here. So when you work for this company, there aren't many public companies up here of this size, and in the Twin Cities there are many companies to sort of jump in the boat and get a lot of things done with. Up here there's a greater responsibility, in my opinion, a greater sense of responsibility on the leadership of this company to contribute to the health and well-being of northeastern Minnesota. It really requires extra energy up here, I think, to lead. So when you pair the sort of the expectations, I think, on this little company and the interests that I have anyways in government, in labor, in business, in schools, in education, in a balanced regional success, it was a natural for me to be involved.
He's catching his breath now that he's turned the CEO role over to Bethany Owen. But Minnesota hasn't heard the last from Al Hodnik.
There's an opportunity to sit back right now and process all of that and say, okay, we got to learn, we got to grow. We're not all aligned here on what it is we need to do, and it requires thought leaders. I hope to be one of those continually going forward.